So I'm not reverse engineering it, because that would then once again create resistance that I actually know what I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, what's missing or I don't have. When you have that faith that there's something bigger than you, that looks and loves upon you more than your own mom loves upon you, when you have all that, you have a probability that it's going to happen. Hey, welcome everyone to Friday Training. This is something I've been wanting to do. I'm going to hit IG Live here. This is something that I've wanted to do. These are two of my best coaching clients. These are two coaching clients of mine who come prepared. When people tell me, how the heck do you coach people every other week for just 20 minutes? What can you get done? Or 20 or 30 minutes? What can you get done? I coach both of these guys, and we get the most done of all my clients. And so I wanted to bring everybody on I'm going to answer the questions that they have. I'm going to answer the questions that they have. They are Lazaros, Next Level University, and Kevin Palmieri. And I'm going to show you how to be a coach if you want to be a hot seat coach, and two, how to be coached, which is something I actually learned a lot from you two, because I still have mentors. I have mentors for the 4 necessities of my life. One, I want to make sure I have a mentor that teaches me to find out who feeds me so I get fed correctly, because you need to be fed. That's one necessity in life. And then I have a coach to talk about hydration. And hydration to me means more than just water. It means connectivity, because water is a conduit to the highest form of energy. Breathing, I have a coach for breathing, because air is the 3rd necessity. And then I have a sleep coach, because it's driving me crazy that people actually sleep 8 to 12 hours a day and wake up more tired than they went to bed. That's like going to eat for an hour and coming back hungry. It just shouldn't happen. All right, boys, let's show everybody, Alan and Kevin, how a true one-on-one coaching session should happen, how to come prepared, and what it looks like. And let's learn some lessons, tell some stories, make some money, help some people, and have some fun. Here we go. What do you got for me?
Right on. Well, it's a pleasure, Dave. Thank you for having us as always. Dave, as you know, early on when you first started coaching us, I was very short-term thinking. I didn't have a long-term vision. Luckily, I had Alan in my corner for that. Now I'm becoming more long-term. I know the downsides of having short-term thinking. What are the potential downsides of having a pure long-term thinking pattern?
Wow.
It's way worse. So see, when you incorporate a short-term, and I call them within the daily practices, right? When I ask myself the what, the who, the how, the now, and the why, which if you don't have the 5 daily practices, I send them out for free. It's the key habit machine. And why is the what so important to what do I want today? I never ask myself what I want 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now. But what I do is I take into consideration all of time when I decide what I want to do today, determinative upon the dependent variables that exist today, the independent variables in my life that exist today. So I look and say to myself, what do I want personally? So when I decide that I want to spend a minimum of an hour a day on my health personally as a priority, a non-negotiable, before what I spend time with my family, which is also personally what I want, before I spend time having activity I get paid for. But what do I do when I only focus in on the now, today, is I take into consideration, I want to live to be over 111 years old. That's a long-term objective, but it is a dependent variable upon my daily practices, my habit machine. So I tell people all the time, you can't just have a short-term perspective, meaning you have to equate or evaluate the midterm and long-term values that you have, but you have to give it a daily assessment. A daily assessment, because every day changes. It's the only certainty that we have, is that tomorrow we don't know what it will be. We don't know what we don't know. We are ignorantly humble, not ignorantly arrogant, pretending that we know crypto's never going to go down. or pretending like we know crypto will only go up. And I hear, trust me, people in every profession, NFTs, crypto, real estate, telling me certainties of the future when they should be focused in on what's your personal experiential giving and receiving values today. What's your timing and risk tolerance today, taking into consideration mid and long-term objectives that you have. Then we can find the who, the how, the now, and apply the why.
Dave, are you reverse engineering your today from the 111 years old?
So first of all, 111. Diane Cannon told me I was limiting myself, but I used to say I'm going to live to 111. I was
Over
born on January 11th, over 111. So it's not necessarily reverse engineering, because that wouldn't be a good utilization of my time, because in between the 53-year-old that I am today and the 111-year-old I will be, I don't know the variables that will be there. But for me, I know a long-term objective is to double the amount of money I make as fast as I can. So I apply that to the activities I have today, planned, unplanned, sleep, the activities I create, efficiencies, effect, all towards those longer term goals. But all I'm really focused in on is the enjoyment of the consistent, persistent pursuit of the potential of living to 111 or over 111, in the pursuit of doubling the amount of money that I want to make. So I'm not reverse engineering it, because that would then once again create resistance that I actually know what I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. Therefore, I will take into consideration where I think I want to be, know that pain, mistakes, failures, and setbacks will protect me from what I don't know and propel me to a better place. So I'll give you my perspective. If, for example, I reverse engineer, I want to live to 111, and I do all these things to make it to 111 every day, right? I'm reverse engineering the foods I eat, all this stuff. Meanwhile, when I'm 110 and 360 days old, someone comes up with a blood transfusion, replacing our blood to create another 900 years of longevity. I've just wasted. What did I waste? But if what I did was considering all what I know today, this is what I'm going to do today, taking into consideration the mid and long-term goals, I now have some aspect of applying what I want in the future, knowing that I don't know what I don't know, knowing that pain will protect me from what I don't know. Pain, mistakes, failures, and setbacks will push me to a better place by the simple reason that I believe there's a greater source than me that cares about me more than my mom cares about me and more than I care about my kids. Therefore, when a mistake, failure, setback comes about, it's like when I was 3 years old and put my hand in a fire and my mom slapped my hand and yelled at me. I'm like, why are you punishing me? She wasn't punishing me. She was protecting me. Because when it comes to putting your hand in the fire, my mom actually has some indication of knowledge, situational knowledge, not omniscient knowledge, that I would hurt myself if I put my hand in the fire. The same way you didn't get the job, you didn't get the money, you didn't get whatever it is you think you wanted in the long term. We are utilizing pain, mistakes, failures, and setbacks to protect us and propel us to a better place. And the only way to evaluate that, creating an evaluation is the energetic value of it, is to what? Every day take inventory of it, of what you want, the what, the who, the how, and do it now, prioritizing by today, taking into consideration, again, midterm and long-term objectives.
Interesting.
I'm sure you have a real question, Alan. I know you have a bunch. So
I do. The next one I want to ask you, Dave. So, what's the most common misbelief, or what do you think is the most detrimental belief for a business owner to have?
The most is that you don't need any help, right? As a business owner, that you can do it all yourself. That by far, that was the biggest downfall of my life. You know, I can teach business owners three things. One, to appreciate what they have, the people, places, things. Appreciate what they have. Meaning, if you have this much in your business today, the first thing you should do is appreciate it, because when you appreciate something, you add value to it. So you've already expanded your business. Then the second thing I would teach them is acknowledgement. How do I acquire the knowledge of what I have? By giving value or giving away what I have. That's the only way we can acquire the knowledge of what we have, is by providing the value from it or giving it away, giving value, right? Then if you don't ask for help, If you don't ask for what you want, you're just going to dissipate and dissolve what you've had because you're not refilling the larger vessel that you created in your business. The people that expand, grow, and accelerate compound the things that they want and have within the context of business, keep on appreciating what they have at the time, acknowledging what they have at the time, but they're asking for more. I always tell people, imagine 25 years ago, boys, this is true. I was more famous than Jeff Bezos. I was richer than Jeff Bezos. I had more relationships in the Silicon Valley than Jeff Bezos. If I would have met Jeff Bezos 25 years ago in his garage and he told me he's selling books on the internet as I was selling legal research on the internet, hey, Dave, I'm going to be a trillionaire. I'm going to be the richest man in the world. I'm an optimist. I don't like to, shit on other people's dreams, but I would have at least kind of laughed or scoffed at him, maybe even made fun of him behind his back. I wasn't the same person I am today, but think about that, right? Think about what he did. He appreciated beyond where I could, where he was. He acknowledged where he was selling the books, but he asked for more. He just had a greater superpower than I had at that age, and we're about the same age, right? He had a superpower of radical humility that he knew that he wasn't going to get there without asking for help and asking for what he wanted. And he looked at me probably like, oh, poor Dave, he's asking for crumbs. He thinks he's rich.
Wow. My goodness.
Dave, I'm sure you've come across, and Alan and I have we've come across a lot of people and experienced a lot of coaching and conversations. And oftentimes there's two types of people. One, people who don't have faith that they can accomplish what they want. Two, people who don't have the strategy in order to accomplish what they want. Do you think that faith without strategy, I don't want to say is delusion because it's not, but like what about having faith without strategy? How do you fix that?
You just have a probability. See, faith without strategy, discipline, and awareness is just a probability. See, the minute you innovate or imagine something, it's a possibility. When you have faith and are in spirit within the context of I must be what I can be, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, what's missing or I don't have. When you have that faith that there's something bigger than you that looks and loves upon you more than your own mom loves upon you, when you have all that, you have a probability that it's going to happen. But it's not going to be your perspective or your reality, not unless you have discipline, strategy, and awareness in order to see. When you realize it doesn't matter, that's when it becomes matter. And it takes faith to realize it doesn't matter as long as I do my best, learn lessons, and have fun. It doesn't matter. Then what I want becomes matter. It materializes. You absolutely, to make a probability your perspective being your reality, meaning that you cannot find outside of you what you can't find inside of you, meaning that you give meaning to everything you see. If you see it, that's not enough. If you believe it, it's not enough. You have to institute the law of Goya, Goya, get off your ass and make it happen with discipline, strategy, and awareness. By clearing away the interference between you and what you want, which is already there because you have faith that there is an all-knowing, omniscient infinity that already exists, and it's your job to get and clear away what's stopping it from coming to you. So the law of gravity says I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I appreciate it. The law of Goya says now I'm going to give it away with discipline, strategy, and awareness. And then the law of attraction fills that vessel back up and allows it to come to you rapidly and accurately. If you can shift that paradigm and understand that possibilities come from dreams, probability comes from inspiration, but the perspective and reality comes from your ability to learn, to do your best by what? Strategizing, by making mistakes, expanding, growing, plateauing, growing, by having discipline to be consistent and persistent in the pursuit of that probability. And then finally, right, to have it become a reality. You have to have the law of attraction fill that vessel. And the only way the law of attraction works, people realize, it's not just putting it on your vision board. See, if John Asseroff just put that Del Mar home on his vision board and just put attention on it, focus in on it, but he didn't. He put his intention into it and he asked for it. Every day he asked for it, not just with his mind and his words, but actions were asking for it because he had the desire that he must be what he can be and he wanted that house and he did everything it took to get that house. That's how the law of attraction works. It's not just a simple, I'm going to have a vision board and my Ferrari's going to come here because I'm dreaming about it in my house. It's a probability, but it's not going to be your perspective.
Dave, so one of the core values that I have is doing things methodically and with excellence. And I'm trying to figure out, I do things a little bit slower than most people because I'm so focused on the mastery and the craft of it. And sometimes I don't optimize well because of that. How do I know whether or not that's conditioning from my past of not feeling good enough versus like an actual virtue that I want to embody and a part of me?
Hi, I'm Jennifer Hurvitz. So last year I wanted to quit everything. I wanted to throw in the towel. I wanted to hang up my microphone. And Kevin said no. Kevin said, keep going, Jen. You've got this. And oh my God, I'm going to cry. And I did. Coaches need coaches, y'all. And working with Kevin has been one of the best experiences of my life. Oh my God, I'm crying. Kevin, you are the best. I could not do this without you. And thank you. Thank you for being you and the amazing human that you are.
Well, it falls in the context of 1, being a student of your calendar, 2, the energetic and genetic inheritance that you have, and then 3, understanding prioritization. See, when we understand the importance of things, we will do things that take very little time and very little attention and intention before some of those things that create, this difficult, more well thought out, planned environment that you feel comfortable in genetically and energetically. See, my energetic and genetic disposition, which is why I do hot seat coaching, is I don't have that in me, right? I have to and have practice being able to force myself to, create systems that allow me to use my genetic and energetic personal characteristics, obsessions, addictions, etc., in my favor. So where most people can, write a book by sitting down for, weeks and months and I have to do it in segments. Why? Because I know I'm a short-term person. So I have to create segments. That's how I coach. That's how I teach. That's how I write books. So I go ahead and I create an outline and I have the bigger picture and the sub outlines. And then I do the lessons and the stories. Then I teach each section as a training and I record it so that I'm actually utilizing my superpowers within the context of the longer form type of perspective that you have to give in order to write a book. So your personality be perfect for writing a book or creating a plan. See, I have to break it down the same way that you could do the opposite, right? By trying to shorten things by prioritization and saying, this is important to me. And that when I evaluate it, put my energy and value into it, I'm realizing that I'm feeding something that's bleeding me. This falls within the biggest mistake I see people make. 80% of your time, Alan, is spent on things that bleed you instead of feed you. And so that if you have to feed the energetic and genetic inheritance of this obsessive compulsive behavior that it has to be perfect, you're actually bleeding yourself. And that in most times in an evaluation of importance, you could say, hey, the importance of this being perfect is very little. And you're actually answering your genetic and energetic calling that you're a perfectionist because you feel like you're not enough or whatever energetic things that may help you understand it. But you can counteract it with your activity by prioritizing importance and saying, if it's not important for it to be perfect, then I'm going to go ahead and reevaluate it so that I can work within the context of my perfection to do this at an 80% rate and just make it a satisfaction to the energetic and genetic inheritance by giving it a different criteria, a different perspective, giving it a different meaning that you want it to have to work within the context of who you are energetically and genetically.
Wow. Kevin's definitely helped me balance that out because he's messy action way more than I am. But I think it's important for me to understand the layers of, because I think that's a virtue as well. The mastery drivenness is a virtue, but like you said, it's contextual. And if I'm painting the deck and it doesn't have to be perfect, and I spend an entire Sunday when I should be in my genius zone, which is coaching and consulting, that's what you're talking about, is basically like that reprioritization.
Yeah, I mean, take for example in the digital marketing space, and this is a lesson that Gary Vaynerchuk and I both learned because we both did over 100 heavily produced vlogs, right? So full, expensive, thousands of dollars into each vlog. Meanwhile, we get a lot more impactful behavior within the context of the mediums that we distribute it by doing very quick TikTok videos, right? That get way more attention and impact way more people and motivate and inspire way more people simply at an airport by standing up and telling people be more interested than interesting, instead of having this beautiful superimposed B-roll and music and 3 people with camera crew following around to Europe, walking into stadiums and arenas. Look, there is a place to align it with what you do, right? There is a time that I do heavily produced things, but I realize, because I have some of the energetic and genetic inheritance that you do, that this is perfection on TikTok is different than perfection in a vlog or a movie or a TV show. Then I can still satisfy my innate quantum need to be obsessive, compulsive, perfect, or whatever it is that you and I both share.
Got it.
Dave, so I can help serve Alan better in our community. What do I look out for when Alan's doing certain things, and to say like, Alan, this is a messy action thing, we just need to wing it?
Correct. So I have actually asked the people closest to me. One of the innate quantum inheritances that I have genetically and energetically is I love to oversell, right? I don't love to lie to people or cheat them. Although sometimes when you oversell people, it comes off as lying and cheating, but it's innate in my being. So as I got older, I've asked my wife to embarrass me. Because she's around me most and she knows the closest to my truth of anyone. So I could be at a dinner and tell people, oh, I sold my office building during COVID so I could buy a studio. My wife will say, he didn't buy a studio, he partnered on the studio, right? Why do you have to exaggerate to make yourself look better? And so you need to do the exact same thing. And, excuse my language, but you got to call your people you love the most on their bullshit and let them know, because I love you, this is messy, right? This is not important to you, Alan. You're letting your ego dictate accelerating you in the wrong direction, creating void, shortages, and obstacles, instead of remember, and recollecting what's most important to you, who we can help and who can help you, how best to get it done with efficiency, effectiveness, and statistical success with those lenses of productivity, accessibility, and gratitude in mind. So this is not a priority to spend a lot of your resources on. What do you think? Does that sound fair? You will start programming and reprogramming and changing the quantum personality traits, characteristics, obsessions, and addictions of Alan to help not only you, Alan, you, Kevin, but your entire community, especially his girlfriend.
Yeah, we were painting the deck and it took all day. Go ahead, Kev.
I told Alan, I was like,
that will ruin date night when you're staying at home to do a deck. I'm just going to say, date night's way more important than any deck ever.
That's true.
So don't be a deck to your girlfriend.
Dave, speaking of our community, one of the things we've learned is the common wound is low self-worth. It's just, I had it, and it's still something we struggle with. I don't think I've ever asked you this. Have you struggled with low self-worth? You're laughing, so something's happening. Have you struggled with it?
Thank you for the question. It's not one that none of these questions are prepared. Let everyone know. I didn't tell you what questions to ask.
No.
And this is proof because, and the reason I'm laughing is some people wanted to come on this training. We're blessed to have over 50,000 people now every week registered for this training, let alone the IG Live and the Facebook. But I told people, if you don't think you need coaching from me, that's great. Come on and watch how I coach. You might get a good idea to be a better coach. Well, there's a secret, and this goes to all the people I do coach, including you guys. If I don't know an answer, I always try to be honest and say, I don't know that, but I'll go find it. But if I need to give an answer just for credibility, there's a go-to, because everybody in the world suffers from this. And I'll say, you know what the problem is, Kevin? You don't feel worthy. And it's the go-to coaching trick, because the biggest CEO of the world, I love to save that one for the day that, I charge those guys a lot of money, the Fortune 50, right? And if I don't have gold to articulate value, I have a few of these things that always will bring gold. I brought some of the biggest CEOs and chairmen in the world, people that you see on CNBC, right? Billionaires, And I'll just say, you know what the problem is? You don't feel worthy. Huh? Dude, how'd you know? I feel like a fraud. I'm an imposter. And I'm like, there's my go-to. So in a long-winded but very important answer, every single person suffers in some degree, if they have an ego, which everyone does, with the inadequacy, with what I call the separation. They suffer from being separate, that they don't feel as one. They either feel superior or inferior. Both are forms of not feeling worthy. If you have to be superior or feel that way, you're not worthy. If you feel inferior, it's obvious you don't feel worthy.
Dave, so in The Alchemist, he has to go out on the journey to then realize the treasure was always buried right beneath the tree he was originally at. And spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't read that book yet. I studied Wayne Dyer's career, and I know you're a huge fan of Wayne, and rest in peace, Wayne. I noticed I studied, and when I say studied, I mean I read many of his books, his speeches throughout the years. He became way less ego driven as time went on, and I know that you saw that transformation in him as well. And my question for you is, did he have to go out on that journey in order to get to that place where he was less ego driven? Some of his speeches when he was in his like late 30s and early 40s were like, you can tell that he had a tenacity and an unworthiness within him. And that slowly dissipated over time as he became and earned success. And so my question is, do you have to earn success to get through that layer of the ego to actually, feel worthy, or can we do it in advance?
You can only feel or as that ego dissipates, and what it is in the time or framework of time. See, the ego itself doesn't dissipate. What happens is you only spend minutes and moments there instead of days, weeks, months, and years. And so you need to learn how to spend minutes and moments with the stop, drop, and roll, the cancel, clear, connect. Any of these things I have documented, once again, because I want people to get that. David@dmeltzer.com. Cancel, clear, connect, the stop, drop, and roll are how we spend minutes and moments in ego. And so the ego will never dissipate, but it's the amount of time we spend in ego when we have the need to be superior, inferior, separate, angry, frustrated, angry, resentful, guilty, all of these different feelings, when we start to recognize it. So it, like anything else, like practicing golf, you go to the range, you got to keep practicing identifying what triggers the ego for you. Is it the need to be offended? Is it certain relatives or friends? Is it certain snapshots of you? Right? Because that's one to be quite aware of. What snapshots of yourself trigger your ego? I have several. And everyone.
What do you mean by that, snapshots?
So there's certain things in my past, or certain things that hurt my feelings. If somebody would say, for example, I'll be very transparent. If somebody says Dave Meltzer is a bullshitter, is an overseller, is a back-end seller. If someone says something questioning that, it really hurts me because I know it's true. In the snapshots in the past when I was young, it was very true. Now it's only true minutes and moments of the time, less and less frequently, but it still triggers my ego. But I only spend minutes and moments when someone says, you're a fake, you're a fraud, you're a bullshitter. That, someone said, for example, a comment, and I spent just moments in ego with it, but I said Oprah Winfrey was a thought leader. And they said, just the fact that you said Oprah Winfrey's a thought leader, you've lost all credibility with me. You're full of shit. You're a fake. And my initial reaction was hurt feelings. And my ego got defensive and separate. I felt inferior. And then I said to myself, hey, stop, breathe, drop. What do you want? Appreciate that person. That's their perspective, and ask them if they'd like to discuss why they felt that way and teach me something. And forgive yourself for being a bullshitter. Just the same way when I looked at my father's jacket in the closet at a time when I hated him and hated my wife, realizing I hated neither of those people. I hated myself, right? That I was the liar, the cheater, the manipulator, the overseller, the back end seller. I was the one that wasn't appreciating. I took for granted what not only other people were dreaming of, but what I was dreaming of. And thank goodness for my wife to indicate to me, because I wasn't well rehearsed or practiced in identifying the ego. I wasn't in a position in my life to identify, like you said, when I'm not worthy. And it took my wife to tell me, hey, buddy, take stock in who you are and who you were and what you want to become. This stuff will go away. And it has.
Powerful. Dave, last
Appreciate
question.
the vulnerability. Go ahead,
Sure. Last question, then
Um,
I'll take questions from our community. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Quick one. Most recent blind spot that you have discovered that has helped you pivot.
It's really interesting because I'm so focused on this idea of looking at things that bleed me and looking at it in the context of what I need. And so for me, if I'm not focused on what I need and utilizing things that feed me for what I need, which is nutrients, not just food, but all the nutrients of what I need, hydration and connectivity, breathing, right? Utilizing Cancel, Clear, Connect, Stop, Drop, and Roll, meditation, quantum healing, also tracing, clear. All these are breathing to me, life. And then finally, really leaning into the recovery and access that I get through my unwinding routine at night. So my tomorrow starts today at 9 p.m., putting my mind, my body, and a soul in a position to plateau and grow, not to live the myth of Sisyphus, not to roll a boulder to the top of the hill just to have it roll down again. So really honing in on, does this person in what degree feed me? Can I find the light, the love, and the lessons in this person, place, situation, business? And is it worth the time comparatively to where I could spend other time with people that are already bleeding me? I see so many companies spending all their resources on a difficult client, trying to maintain or double the business of a small, high maintenance client when they have an easy, big client that they've had since inception. And if they put the same resources into that as they did the other, holy moly, the big client that they may be doing $1 billion with compared to the $20 million client turns into a $2 billion client if they fire the $10 million or $20 million client. So that's the biggest epiphany of today. That's where my focus is, both in coaching and in learning. And once again, Alan Lazaros, Next Level of University with Kevin Palmieri, two of my greatest clients I've ever had. I want to thank you because in our sessions, every single time there's at least one moment where I say, gosh, Dave, that's really good advice. Maybe you should take it.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank
All
you,
the
Dave.
love.
Appreciate it. All the love.
I love you guys.
Love you
Hearts.
back.
Thank you.
Thank you,
All
Dave.
right.